Hello, everybody. So I'm back to covering Opendoor a little bit this Sunday. I realize that this is one of these stocks where a lot of people disagree with me, but it's okay. I do think we can learn a lot about business and real estate in general from covering Opendoor. Opendoor is a fallen stock. It's a fallen darling. They really had a business model that was on the rise in 2020 and 2021, and of course the biggest rate hike in the latest recent history happened and crashed the stock. But that's okay. They have a financier at the helm of Opendoor now, and she's taking decisions that frankly, as a growth investor, I don't think is always the right move. I don't think it's always the right thing to do. But right now, she's steering the ship in the direction of profitability, which is exactly what Wall Street wants. So Wall Street wants Opendoor to show some profitability number, some positive cash flow number, so that it gets out of this $1 price range, which is crazy to think that the stock came that cheap. And that's the story, by the way, of so many SPACs. So we have a financier at the helm of Opendoor now. And because of that, as a former CFO, you often see layoffs as the main solution to actually get back into profitability and positive cash flow. And so they announced more layoffs on the 18th, on Tuesday 18th, 560 position cuts, mostly in operations. So, people who actually run the business, people who actually run the iBuying part of the business, who run the purchasing, the selling. It's the last layoff that they did, and we'll know this in the next earnings report. That's when we will know how much money they really intend to save. The next shareholder letter for Q1, but we know that the last one, the last round of layoff was 550 people, and they coordinated that with the end of some marketing campaigns, and they were able to reduce $110 million. From the last layoffs. And so will this round save something similar? Because you never really cut just people. You also cut programs. So could this round of layoffs save another $100 million? Like I said, this is a company that is led by, I believe, a temporary CEO, and I believe that CEO is there to steer back the ship into profitability and get out of this $1 to $2 price range. But you have to be careful and make sure that the grand goal of this company, which is to replace the MLS, that is the goal of this company, to be the most innovative liquidity provider in real estate. They are going after the largest market, in terms of billions exchanged each year. The market size of real estate is absolutely tremendous. As far as transaction size, as far as revenue potential, there is no greater revenue potential than a company that attempts to entirely disrupt real estate. And I think this company has a wonderful vision. This is a catalyst right now for the stock price. This is a short-term catalyst. Once the market gets back to normal buy and sell movements of real estate, once the market adjusts to the new interest rates for however long they're going to be, this is a company that I believe has to return to growth and has to return to investing in their platform, their first-party platform and their third-party platform. A short-term catalyst for now, nonetheless, these layoffs. Moving on from layoffs, I want to talk about catalyst number 2, which is mortgage rates. So mortgage rates they've gone up a little bit this week, but they're still under the 7% handle for 30 years, and that handle is very important, as I've highlighted last week in my video on Opendoor. But that there's evidence, quite a bit of evidence, if you look at the Fed Watch tool, that we're in for one more tiny 0.25 rate hike, and you see the odds that on May 3rd we get a tiny 0.25 rate hike. These odds are at 89% right now, so we're likely gonna get that, and then it's also likely, per the Fed Watch tool, that the Fed will pause, and we kind of know that because there's a lot of other countries that the US is connected to for commerce that have already paused, like India, Australia, Canada, Brazil, Singapore. They've all announced a pause in their rate hikes over the past 2 months. Brazil a little more, 5 months ago for Brazil. They've all announced a pause, and so it makes sense that the Fed does another 25-point rate hike to save face, and they're going to go into a pause. And once you have these pauses, fear will abate quite a bit, because now we know that we're in a pause phase, and we know that after a pause, the thing that comes is going to be a drop. And this is what usually is predicted by the FedWatch tool. Now, you have to be careful, because the long-term predictions are not always the most reliable. In fact, they're often not too reliable, but the market seems to believe that we're going to pause until September, and that starting in November, we're going to start to see a round of rate hikes, and rate hikes throughout 2024 likely, which is what the market is predicting right now. So I think it's interesting that a pause may be coming, and if the pause comes, what comes after the pause? That's the drop in hikes. And so that drop in interest rates will obviously trigger a new demand for mortgage and trigger a new demand for real estate. Opendoor is trying to place itself in the position to be able to capitalize that, to be able to capitalize on the next wave of rate drops, just like they did masterfully, I would argue, just like they did masterfully in 2020 and 2021. So that's one of the upsides here. One of the catalysts is the mortgage rates, they're going to cool off. That's my view. That's my take. I'm also, and the news has done a wonderful job at terrifying everybody, and this is one of the least terrifying articles that I found online. But if you go on other publications, if you go on Twitter, I mean, you would think the world is ending. And so they've promoted this as well. Good borrowers are going to pay more, and they're going to pay. I mean, the most advertised one was maybe $40 a month more on a $400,000 house. That's the example that circulated all over Twitter, because there is a change in what they call the LLPA, which are the adjustment matrices for mortgages at the federal level. There's been a change to create subsidies across credit scores such that good borrowers would pay a little bit more, and borrowers with a little bit lower credit scores would pay a little bit less. And so, I can make a moral case when that is wrong. I can absolutely make a moral case that it is wrong. I mean, it's the same principles as the tax rate, right? We have a progressive tax code system, and if you make more than $400,000 a year, your rate is going to be 39%, and you're going to pay more than everybody else. We're used to that. And I can make a moral case that it's wrong, and I don't think it's cool, because if you've worked really hard your whole life to have a 760 credit score, and you're paying more to subsidize people who don't have a credit score, it doesn't feel fair. But that's not the point. The point that I'm trying to make is in real terms, in real numbers, like what is this actually going to do beyond the news? And when you look beyond the news, to me it seems like a nothing burger. Like the word that comes to mind when I look beyond the news is it's a nothing burger, because in practice you're still going to pay much more if you have a 680 credit score. It makes little sense to move, say, from a 780 to a 680 credit score to try to get a 10-point or a 20-point discount, right? It makes very little sense to do that, because in practice, this is just an adjustment, and you're still going to perhaps not even be able to qualify for a mortgage for a 680 credit score. So in practice, I'm not sure that's going to change too much. But I'm still trying to figure that one out, and I hope to maybe make a full video after this goes into effect, make a full video about this to figure out what that really means. But when you look briefly at the numbers, it seems like the new incentive program, which would be which you can see on the lower table here, it would seem to me like the new adjustment matrix program after May really incentivize more than anything, incentivize having a low down payment. The real incentive that I see in this program is that it pushes people with good credit score to get a low down payment. And so if people with good credit score start to get a low down payments, that also means that in their mind, if the culture shifts from a 20% down payment to a 10% down payment, that could create an incentive where people just borrow more money and they just put lesser of a percent down payment. And individuals are agile. When there is a new law or a new policy, individuals are going to respond to incentives and act in their best interest. And so if the differences are too stark, say because your credit score is too high, well, why don't you spend a Saturday afternoon applying to 2 or 3 credit cards, and then you drop your credit score? Do you know what I mean? It's very hard to make your credit score go up. It's not hard to make it go down. So you also need to be careful. I'm still trying to figure out, I'm not the only one, most people in that field are still trying to figure out what that's going to mean. But it seems to me right now on a first glance that this is going to be a nothing burger, and this is mostly to try to get clicks. Yes, it's wrong that some borrowers are going to pay, 10, 20, 30 bucks more a month, and that's wrong, but that also probably doesn't change much. It's akin to a teeny tiny rise in taxes. And we know. I mean, we know the general trend of taxes is up, and this is something that we all know. Taxes are only going up, in my view, in the future. So, anyways, just trying to be cool-headed. I'll see if I make a full analysis on this because I'm curious. Catalyst number three is that the real estate market is finally stabilizing. So the reason, and this is a fascinating chart from the home case Schiller index, the reason why Opendoor got hurt is because it purchased a bunch of homes in early 2022, right? In this segment, this share of the segment, when it purchased a lot of home, when the home prices were going up really, really high, home prices were going up, 20% a year for almost 2 years. So because of that, they've overpaid to homes. So the price of homes has been very volatile in 2020, 2022, and then 2023 with all the way up and all the way down. This looks a little bit like the stock market if you think about it. And so that's what messed up Opendoors, which is a business model, which is, buy a house, sit on it for 6 months and sell it later. They really benefited in early 2020, and they really got hurt in late 2022. Now, I want to call our attention to the fact that the prediction is from the case Schiller, but not just that we are getting into a stable market, in a much more stable market where, home prices appreciate your classic 2 to 3%. And that's at least before the Fed drops back the interest rates down to zero or close to zero. Because I do believe once the interest rate will be back, say, down to zero, like in 2026, which I view as likely, then we're going to get back this spike up in the price of real estate. But at least in the meantime, when we have a little bit of interest rates in 2024, 2025, it seems that it's going to be a stabilizing force on the market. And an Opendoor will be able to make right buys when the market is stable, to make an offer 15, 20% lower than the market and then sell it at market price. They will be able to do that. This stabilizing of prices, I believe, is going to be a positive for Opendoor, who's going to be able to recalibrate its purchase and resale system. And the market is going to get much healthier as well, at least for the next few years, because home prices are stabilizing. Buyers are going to get used to the new interest rates. Sellers are going to get used to the new home prices and the new sell prices, and the market should stabilize. That is at least my view, and I think that is a catalyst. I think the stabilization of real estate for a few years is the catalyst, and that is when really the savings of not going through a realtor, those savings will really shine in stable environments, right? Because that HPA that you may have on your home then goes to you and doesn't go in expensive fees. Let's remember that Opendoor still charges significantly fewer fees than realtor. When you're talking about 1% to 2% less than what a realtor charges, if it's $1 million house, that's between $10,000 and $20,000. That is absolutely significant in my view for any buyer, right? There's a lot of things that you can justify dozens and dozens of hours of work, to save, say, $20,000 by choosing Opendoor as opposed to choosing the traditional legacy process. So that's the catalyst number 3, and the sign of that. And I'll conclude with this video. Thank you to Tyler Oakland and Datador.io, which is his business, and that's a business that two members of Twitter have started, and this is a tweet as of this morning, which really makes me confident in my ownership of Opendoor. So Tyler Oakland tweeted this morning: has sold, Opendoor has sold or is under contract on 90% of the homes that they purchased between April and August 2022. And these homes, the April to August cohort, the Q2 cohort, is what has been hurting Opendoor and Opendoor stock, right? Remember, that cohort is right here in that chart. That's when they were buying homes. They are almost finished unloading those homes. And that means that they are going to be able to start on a new, sane basis going forward. And I have bought back this stock a little bit last week, and I look forward to adding a little bit to this stock. I realize this is perhaps the riskiest play on my channel. Not for everyone. But if you go back to my old videos and all of my analysis on the stock, you know why I'm taking this bet. You'll know why I'm taking this bet. I think Opendoor is an interesting play. Anyways, I realize this was a longer-winded video than usual. But again, I just felt like talking about Opendoor this Sunday. So hopefully you have a great day. This is not investment advice. This is just entertainment. Appreciate your likes, appreciate your subscribes, and have a wonderful day.